Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. Today I want to talk about the 6 different types of portfolio career that I believe exist. Now of course, these are things that I have just observed. I'm not necessarily saying that this is pure fact or whatever it may be, but this is all based on an article that I wrote a couple of years ago called The Contractors You Need to Build a Portfolio Career. Now of course, it's not just for contractors, but it really highlights the fact that actually, as you're going throughout your, career or whatever it may be, you may encounter different themes or types of things that exist within your career space. Now, I started off by talking about in this article about how, there's the rise in AI automation, there's toxic work cultures and poor leadership, there's the great resignation that was happening during the COVID pandemic, there was the increasing gig economy, the cost of living crisis was high, and that there was a need for organizations to spend less over time with, labor and all this kind of stuff there, that there is a deeper need for individuals to create their career. And I spoke to the fact that actually, we don't necessarily follow or pursue a career ladder as much anymore. We've moved more into a space where we're creating our own careers. Now, there's this person called, I believe, Charles Handy, I've written this in this article, who authored this book, Why You Should Build a Portfolio. No, it's not a book, it's an actual Harvard Business Review. It's called Why You Should Build a Career Portfolio, Not a Career Path. So this is in a Harvard Business Review. So this is big stuff. This is not just some random black guy from the UK talking about it. Academics are talking about this stuff, etc., etc. And so obviously the benefits include potential increased income goals, potential diversification when it comes to new experiences and stuff, potential flexibility in terms of your living, everything else, and doing something that you really enjoy and actually good at. So if we're leaning onto the whole 6 different types of career types, I'm going to talk through them. Bear this in mind that you can move through these different career types sequentially, but you don't have to. This is not like a boss level 1, boss level 2 and all that kind of jazz there. Some of you may be doing multiple different types of this portfolio career type. Some of you may be only doing one. The point being made is, do you recognize this stuff? Do you recognize this in your own life? And are you attracted to, I guess, the preceding portfolio career type that I may talk to? So bear in mind what I say, listen quite intently to which one relates to you, if at all. And yeah, leave any comments below if you believe that this resonates with you in any way, shape or form. So the first type is the career traditionalist. And it's kind of like on the tin in a sense that this is an individual who works a 9 to 5 and they may be a white collar worker, office job worker, etc., etc. And they were taught that actually the way you make money is to apply to a job and that job will pay you for your rewards for your efforts. But there is a fixed amount each month and there is a certain way that you do things, and to be fair, based on policy X, Y, and Z, the line manager has rule. The line manager has jurisdiction over your work and what you do, etc., etc. And of course, do you have certain protections and rights that exist? So this is how most of us make the money. Now, there's nothing wrong with this stuff because, if you're in a specific organization trying to climb the career ladder, you're trying to move for an organization to become a leader, become an executive, to become a senior of some sorts, to be a head, to create some sort of impact, then that makes sense if that organization ticks those boxes for you in terms of what your goals are. Maybe it's increased money. Maybe it's the fact that you've been able to cement your skills and your expertise within a specific space. So there are definitely benefits to being in the, I'm going to say, the previous way of doing things. And I say previous because I'm not saying that you can't do this stuff anymore. You still can, of course. However, there is a new, more diversified, more accepted way to do things, which is the portfolio career or the career portfolio. And the reason why this is becoming more rising is because of the socio-economic things that are happening within our life right now, when it comes to money, when it comes to how we're feeling, when it comes to just the culture of things just in general. So that's the first one. Now, in addition to this first one, there's one that's kind of in the gray area that is part of the career traditionalist type. And that is the management consultant, the firm management consultant. So that individual who is specifically working for a big 4 or big 5 consultancy firm. And essentially I say this because although individuals who consult for these firms, do have a day rate attached to them, not all of these individuals get a day rate. Maybe the partners do, or certain principal levels, or whatever it may be. But they are salaried. They are salaried by nature. They are salaried workers. And so the day rate is just more so for the individual, let's say, for example, the lead consultant on a certain project, or whatever it may be, to highlight value for or to their end client, in order for them to specifically be clear about what is costing the end client for this consultancy. But the additional monies that is made is fed back into paying obviously their consultants, but also for training costs and innovation and events and all these different things that they use the money for. Again, I'm not going to know the details in that, but that's what I've been told, at least anyway. And so with that in mind, because these workers are salaried, a lot of them are, should we say, they still fit within the career traditionalist space. And you'll see that a lot of these people are uber successful, okay? They're in the upper echelon of society, so to speak, or within the working world. And so they're able to afford nice things, X, Y, and Z, at the cost of obviously exchanging their time for money. Now, of course, any sort of thing you do will require some sort of effort, time, and money involvement. I'm not saying this like this is only subject to the career traditionalist, but there may be situations where you may be doing things that you really can't be bothered to do, and it's taking a lot of your time and energy, but because you've built up this career capital, so to speak, yeah, you're going to have to continue. So there is the career traditionalist. The second type is the side hustler, okay? So we all know what the side hustler is. This is somebody who is building a side hustle, and typically they're building their side hustle because, well, it's kind of in the name. If it's on the side, they're doing it outside of their 9 to 5. And it's a hustle because they're grinding. They're trying to make something work. And so with that sort of like breaking down that language, that would insinuate that actually they're not quite happy in their 9 to 5, or they're looking to make more money than what they're making now, whether that is supplementary or replacing what they're currently doing. So there are different ways we can look at the side hustle sort of like approach. But what I would say is that if you are side hustling, this is not just a hobby. This is not a charity. This is something that enables you to make income. And so you're going to have to be able to service some sort of need, or productize something, or create a product that caters towards a need or a want that needs to be fulfilled. The difference between the two is that a need is something that a person requires in order to achieve something, okay? Whereas a want is more of a desire, okay? They would like for something to happen because it makes them feel a certain way. And it's less about a requirement or survival. It's more about how it makes them feel or look or whatever it may be. And so if you can understand specifically what needs people have, but how you can communicate it to them based on their wants, okay, then you've got a winning formula. So it's the whole product market fit and understanding the gap analysis within the market. What are you good at? What skills do you have? What things are you deeply interested in? What specific needs and wants are there that exist? And what opportunities do you have in order to fill the gap in that market and communicate effectively to these individuals so that you can start to create business? You know, the minimalist definition of a business is commercial activity, okay? And commercial is typically linked to some sort of goods, money making, all of that kind of stuff there. So if commercial activity is involved, positive commercial activity is involved in your money making schemes as a side hustler, then of course that's always going to be a positive. So there is a natural progression to side hustler. It's not usually something that someone does independently because it's on the side. The third thing is the conservative contractor. Now, a lot of my channel is based on this stuff. The conservative contractor includes the majority of the consultant types that I spoke about in the video before this one. And so this looks at specifically like the inside IR35 contractor. This looks at the outside of IR35 contractor or independent consultant, the procurement contractor, etc., etc. But essentially there is a pattern and a theme, and that is X person finds work within a market space or a specific economic buyer. They're able to deliver some sort of proposal that highlights their objectives and their deliverables. They deliver work for a specific amount of time, okay? And this is obviously independent of being connected to an organization per se, and unless it's their own organization or an umbrella, and then based on that, they are able to get more work or find additional work. But it's all dependent upon them. They're betting on themselves. They'll still be utilizing the same skills that they may be utilizing in the career traditionalist sort of like role. But in this one, they are independent, okay? Regardless of how the government sees them in terms of tax, whether they're inside or outside of IR35. Now, with the conservative contractor, what I include within this space is non-executive directors, council members or parishioner council members, advisors, trustees, even though they're voluntary by nature. All of these different stuff that is independent and requires your expertise, your advice, all of that kind of stuff there. Okay, so the conservative contractor. The fourth is what I call the diversified personal brand. And I feel like social media has popularized this because this diversified personal brand is somebody who is the coach, the speaker, the newsletter writer, the content creator, all this kind of stuff. That social media person, what we would call an influencer, okay, who impacts, okay, people based on their message. There's an argument to you said, because I'm doing YouTube videos, I'm fitting within this whole diversified personal brand space. And so with that in mind, this individual is doing a whole batch of different stuff. And what they're trying to do is set up a system where they can make money consistently and fluidly. Okay. So they are the key person of influence. Now, this person may be doing this solo, okay, or they may have set up their own sort of business with a team or contractors or whatever it may be. The whole setup doesn't really matter, but it's focused on the personal brand. It's focused on that individual to provide that value. So typically, whether you're in a millennial space or Gen Z or whatever it may be, these individuals are typically multifaceted by nature, okay? And they have a certain skill set helping other individuals sometimes do what they're doing, okay, based on experience. Now, of course, if you're within this space or want to get within this space, you have to make sure that you have not just social credibility, but sometimes career credibility or some sort of association or accreditation or qualification that makes you stand out within the space. So hopefully that makes sense. So think about author, speaker, coach, content creator, course creator, all of this kind of stuff that all fits within the diversified personal brand. Then what we have is what I call the Entrepreneurial Specialist. So this person is a highly skilled expert in what they do, or at least it's perceived that way. So, sometimes you'll see somebody who's really good at closing sales or really good at creating certain, blankets or really good at whatever it may be. So what is the difference between the diversified personal brand and the entrepreneur specialist? Well, they're perceived as more as a specialist. When you think of, let's say, for example, businesses or helping businesses grow, who do you think of? Maybe Alex Hormozy. When you think of productivity, who do you think of? Possibly Ali Abdaal, but you may argue he's a diversified personal brand, which I'd say he is too. But maybe there's someone else who's even more niche, okay? So it's somebody who has a very clear niche. They're not even trying to diversify like that publicly, so to speak, but they're the go-to person. Now, of course, this individual isn't always some sort of like social media person or YouTube person or whatever it may be. They may even be someone who actually is a really high sought out consultant, but they're just on a different level. Okay, you could like, it's almost like their name is spoken about amongst the circles, like they're the person to go to, so to speak. And so these people sometimes may have a bit of a contrarian view in terms of how they view things, X, Y, and Z, but essentially they're the go-to person. And then finally what we have is what I'm calling the respected investor. So this person's been around the block potentially. They may not have been, but I say they're respected because they have experience. They've understood how businesses work. They know how the markets operate. They've got certain key themes that pop up. They have a certain system for understanding where to capitalize on markets, etc., etc. And their experience speaks for themselves, And so these individuals, whether they trade or invest, they understand how to do this stuff properly. So we're thinking of the Buffetts, the Ray Dalios, all these different types of people. Of course, they don't necessarily fit within this camp only. You may also have individuals who sell and buy businesses. Okay, so that would be the Alex Hormozis or the, I've forgotten the lady's name, who basically helps other people understand how they buy businesses as well. So these different types of people are respected within their field. They know what they're doing, at least anyway, or it's perceived that way on socials, but behind the scenes they should know what they're doing. And they understand the game of investing, okay? And they may have gone through the whole journey, the whole spectrum of what I spoke about in terms of the career traditionalist, the side hustler, the conservative contractor. Then you've got the diversified personal brand. Then you've got the entrepreneur specialist before you get to the respected investor. You could argue some of the people that I've mentioned have gone through that whole journey to some degree, in some way, shape. I know Alex Hormozi has, at least anyway. Does it mean that you have to now go through that journey? Not necessarily. You may sort of skip a level, go here, go there. Some of them are interchangeable, like the entrepreneur specialist may be very similar to the diversified personal brand or even the conservative contractor, but they all have their own distinct characteristics and sort of like setups as well. So that's essentially what that looks like. And hopefully I've been able to give you a bit of an idea of where you may sit or what you might need to do. Because again, with all of these different ones, there is a certain type of roadmap that you can follow in terms of becoming within this sort of like space or role type, whatever it may be. And look, the whole reason I'm doing all of this stuff, talking about the portfolio career and talking about contracting and all this kind of stuff there, is because I want to set that journey. I'm not going to say that I know everything, because I really don't. You know, for me personally, you know, I've experienced the career traditionalist stuff. I've experienced the side hustler stuff. I've experienced the conservative contractor stuff. I'm moving into the diversified personal brand stuff. So you could say I haven't necessarily completed all of these levels, and I dabble in all of them to some degree. But the point being made is that I can identify with them, and at least I can develop a roadmap that makes sense for me given the conditions that we're currently in right now. So I'd love to know which sort of like phase are you in? Is there a dominant sort of like type that you have? Are you in a couple? Yeah, let me know below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And of course, you know, I have to say this. If you want to see more things centered around portfolio careers or contracting or whatever it may be, feel free to sign up to my newsletter. I send it out every Sunday at 2 p.m. and it's jam-packed with information, ideas. Hopefully, you know, I don't hold back with any of this stuff. Of course, the newsletter is just a consolidated way to pick up this information. And again, if you want to see more videos like this stuff, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.